Dun, 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 dun. Hi, friends. Good to be back in studio. My name is Dean. That is Lachlan. Hey, bud.
I'm here.
Hey, buds. Hey, buds. I'm trying to get the bird accent down.
Yeah,
Hey, buds. Buds. Hey, bud. Hey, buddy. Buddy.
hey, listen, can I get a rum and coke? You look like you're gonna mix me a drink.
Well, you like my shirt? I had to wear it today. It was
Why do you have your
laundry
cocktail outfit on? Can you spin a couple bottles for me?
Yeah, I know. I look like I'm going on vacation. Which I'm not. But speaking of cocktails, I had a couple of cocktails this week.
You've been dipping your toe back in. Are you concerned? Like when you drink? Like, serious question.
You know, and this is why I wanted to bring it up, because I talk a lot about the fact that I
wellness
don't drink,
and
right? I quit drinking 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Wellness.
You just smoke a bale of pot a week.
Don't even do that anymore. Have a little toot at night sometimes, 3-4 nights before I go to bed. So my life is moderated, right? Like it's one of those lives that, you know, you get 6-7 years away from any substance, and then you decide, yeah, I'm gonna have a cocktail. So anyway, I want to take you through this. So I had an
hold on.
Go ahead.
We should say this. I just want to say this out loud.
Yeah.
Your problem with alcohol may be different from others people's issues with it, right? So saying that you know, 6-7 years, you feel like you can dip. There are some people that if they dip their toes back into those waters,
1,000%,
they're going to snort the mortgage next week.
100%.
So
and they say that, like, when you're an
levels.
alcoholic, like you got the disease, which I don't know about sometimes, because it's different for me. You got the disease. It's like when you start drinking again, you don't start at where you start 5 times harder than where you left off, right?
Yeah.
That ain't me, because I appreciate being mindful, being in my life. I like being aware. And when you're wasted or you're high, you're just not those things. You're not emotionally available. You lose the ability to reason. So that's very important to me. And I've dealt with all my shit. It wasn't
I can be very disconnected without booze too, though.
Yeah, I know you can't do it. I see it every day. But for me, my problem wasn't alcohol, right? Counseling, psychotherapy, all the things, the 6-7 years that went into it.
Did you get some electric shock therapy?
No, and I didn't know. At the end of that, 5 years ago, I'm like, oh, my problem was me. I didn't have the tools to deal with life. I didn't understand what moderation was, da-da-da-da-da. So, you know, there's been a couple of times where I'm like, I'll have half a glass of wine with dinner, and only in very specific situations. So this week, go out for dinner, special occasion, I get an old-fashioned. You know what an old-fashioned
You like the old-fashions, yeah.
Love the old-fashioned.
My wife is a bourbon whiskey person, and she loves the old-fashions. She loves Old Tub.
Very good.
I know this because I have to buy that. I have to buy that liquor all the time.
Probably a smoky.
Well, not all the time.
She likes old fashions. Yeah. Well, now you're outing your wife as a big drinker. That's good, because I'm always buying her bourbon.
She likes to have the odd cocktail. She does.
Got a girl. But I understand the point of cocktails now, because it's about flavor. It's not about getting hammered, right? Because I like being here. So anyway, long story short, well, for you, it's about getting hammered. For me, it's about the flavor. Oh, I've never tasted this before. You can put an orange peel in a drink, and it's delicious. It's got a little boozy flavor to it, a little smoke to it. And then it's a flavor profile thing. Interesting. I've had 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5. So a couple days ago, go for a dinner, kind of a special dinner. I get this old fashioned ordered for me. I get to the table, I drink it over the course of an hour, and I'm buzzed. Like, I'm like, ooh, this is
okay. Yeah.
I hadn't felt that in a long time. So I cut it off, have a great night, enjoy my waters. Just was like, I don't need to feel any different than I felt before. So I get home.
Plus, you probably needed to perform.
I actually didn't have to perform that night.
Okay. All
so
right.
I get home, sans performance. I feel weird. I wake up at 3:00 in the morning, like wide awake. That is what I used to do when I drank. You'd wake up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, bing, and like, brr, and my whole body was like, "What are you doing, dude? What are you doing?"
Wow.
I couldn't get back to sleep at all. And then the familiar like pain in the middle of your chest and all the things that was from one drink. Granted, it was huge and stiff because everybody makes them different everywhere you go. But I thought to myself, and I wanted to tell you the story because it was like, hey, listen, I sit here and I advocate for people not to drink. This is a pretty decent reason why. Because I'm off it for 7 years and then I have one big drink and I'm like, that's no good. My entire nervous system was like, fuck you.
That sounds a little psychosomatic though.
No, dude, it wasn't at all. I've had several cocktails in the last year. Several.
Also, I will say
never had
this.
that feeling. But I know the feeling. Like I know that everybody knows it. Like if you drink too much, you wake up in the middle of the night, you can't sleep, your sleep pattern sucks. And if you love sleep,
I get head sweats. My head sweats, just my head.
If you love sleep and don't like head sweats, if you love to sleep to a person, and I can tell you this, you drink all you want. Don't care. Good for everybody. If you love sleep, that was a great indicator of why I do not drink and why it's probably, and will I drink again? Absolutely. I'll have a couple cocktails here, a glass of wine there, maybe half a glass. Probably won't finish it. Don't finish my drinks. Enjoy the taste. But holy fuck, what an eye opener for me.
I think there's more to it than the actual chemical makeup of your body and how it reacted to the booze. I think you're also, because I know you and I know what you're going through right now. Like you've got some stress in your life. You like not stress, it's good stress. It's just there's a lot happening right now in your life. Like, and we haven't talked about it, but like that ACAST deal, like that's massive for you and for Crier Media. You've got this fact check stuff happening behind the scenes. You're literally being like beat up every day with constant change. Yeah. And I think that probably has just as much to do with it. Here's my thing with booze, right? Like I have a certain amount. What's that?
Or it's poison. And I almost poisoned myself.
It might be, but here's my thing with booze and sleep. Like I know, like I'll be literally like I'm watching Shogun right now. Have you watched that?
It's awesome. Yeah.
Have you? Where are you at?
What's the white guy's name? I've got like 2 episodes to go. I haven't watched it for a couple of weeks. What's his name? What's the white guy's? John Blackthorne. No, John Blackthorne. They call him Engine. Yeah.
So I finished last night this week's episode.
It's awesome.
So you got to catch up. So we can talk about it.
All right.
Catch up this weekend. Anyway, where was I going with that? Oh, I'll be sitting up here in the loft. I watch TV up here behind me, right? Like I spend a lot of time in this room. It's actually kind of disturbing. And I'll have a couple of beers, right? Like I might have a glass of wine with dinner, and then I'll have a couple of beers. And I will literally be drinking that 3rd or 4th beer, and I'll sometimes even put it aside. Like I'll get up in the morning, come up here and clean up the room because I don't want a bunch of liquor bottles behind me when I'm doing the podcast.
Smart.
So I will literally have a beer. It'll be half full, and I'll go, okay, yeah, because I know, like, okay, if I have 2 more, 3 more, even half a beer more, I'm not going to have a good sleep, and it's going to impact my day the next day. So I know when to shut her down.
See, that's why you're not an alcoholic. That's not why you're a greasy piss tank. You can moderate.
I can get there
a lot.
Like there's days where I get on my horse.
Dude, you know how many phone calls we've had at like 9 o'clock at night where you're like trying to figure something out and you're slurring and I can hear you open a drink. Maybe several. But you have a moderation gene that some people don't. I have that gene now that I don't feel like being out of myself, which is really the biggest difference. And when I had that massive drink and I felt different, I didn't like that. That was the part where it's like, nah, I like being in control. Like I'm
that's good. That's good self-awareness, Dean.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, that's why. And it's funny because I work with guys, you help them, and they're all convinced it's a disease and they got to stay away from it. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. But I'm here to tell everybody that if you deal with that shit, great. If you want to drink, go ahead. If you can moderate. But holy fuck, when you get back into it, if at all, like, hang on, you get back into that stuff, your body does it. Your body, liked you not drinking for a long period of time for a reason. Because
I know people
that
that can't be around it.
Like, oh, dude, Steve-O. So Steve-O's one of those dudes, right? And I know Steve-O, he's a great guy.
Jackass?
He got sober just before I did. Yeah. And he won't go on a show where people are drinking or smoking.
And
right?
that's, yeah, I get that.
I
understand.
There are people out there that I'll give you an example. I remember one time going into an AA meeting. It was early on. It was like 6 months in or something like that. And for me, it was all I could do not to drink at the time. Right. I had to be in those rooms. I had to go be honest. I had to have those conversations. I had to admit to these people that I was like them, which is weird when you walk in and you see them and you're like, oh, I guess nothing separates me from humanity. Addiction's the great equalizer, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a woman that walked in. Name escapes me. Doesn't matter. It's supposed to be like quiet anyway. You're not supposed to tell people anything. But I will tell you the story. This woman walks in. She's significantly older. And she's in tears and she's shaking and she sits down at the big square table and we're going around, gets to her and she's like, hi, I'm so-and-so alcoholic, bawling her eyes out. Sober for 23 years. But today I drove by a liquor store and I almost stopped. And that's why I'm crying and shaking. And I'm like, I fucking hope that's not me.
In 23 years, yeah.
And all these people were going to AA meetings. So that was my ticket to go, I need all kinds of other help. So that's not me. So that's what I did. I engaged in wellness. I went and got a therapist, psychotherapist, counselor, addictions dude, got into philosophy, literally cognitive behavioral therapy to change the way my behaviors are looked at by myself. All those things were really important. And not only do I not give a shit, I know that that's not good for me. And I know I can moderate my life. And I know what's there too. So there's a significant amount of fear that's built in, right? Like, that feeling that I had was that feeling I didn't want to get away from, right? I wanted to be in that feeling for a long period of time. When you get like 7 years out of that feeling, 7 years out of like not waking up at night, sleeping 8 hours, solid as a fucking rock, feeling good about yourself, putting your mind to work, putting your best case scenario to work for yourself every day because you're physically here and you're not drawn to something else, that I'm addicted to now. So I have a different way of looking at life. But to your point, there are people out there like this young lady who's not, and I believe she's not with us anymore, who literally on a ledge for the rest of their lives, anxious that it might get them again. Yeah. Right.
And I've known people like that. That's why I think you gotta, I'm not chastising you here. I think you have to be careful when you're having this discussion because there's levels of it. And I believe just based on my experience with alcohol personally, and I believe with my experience with seeing others struggling with it, that I know some people that cannot, once they start, that is it. They are off to the races until they fall down on their face and then physically can't put it in their mouth hole anymore. And it's bad, right? And I'm so glad we're doing this on a Friday. I love it when we get on the podcast and we have a 15, 20-minute discussion about sobriety.
I know, but I'm not. That's the thing is that I wouldn't consider myself.
All I'm thinking about right now is my totally 6-pack of beer for my Friday night. I might start as soon as we get off.
You can moderate. You're not showing up to this thing with a fucking tumbler full of rum.
Bite at me 11 in your moderation.
Speaking of getting on with it and moving on to better subjects, I had no idea so many people had an issue with Canada's new wealth tax. I didn't know. I had no idea. We were on the podcast yesterday. Let me set the table. We'll get into it. So yesterday we were talking about the wealth tax. So Canada, if you're just listening, institutes its new wealth tax, capital gains from 50% to 60%, targeting the richest 0.13% of Canadians. Now,
that's what they said they were doing.
Correct. However, the devil's in the details, right? So the more we look into it, the more we realize nobody is exempt from the capital gains tax. That goes for old Locker there, who spent his whole life trying to build equity and capital as a retirement plan.
And that was my issue with it. You keep going, but I mean that like we have this plan in place, and then like all of a sudden, just arbitrarily they decide, not today.
Yeah,
we're gonna
and the majority of people, majority of businesses in this country majority of people in this country who own homes are not those big corporations that the liberal government is telling us they're going after. They're going after fucking everybody. Everybody. Yeah. Right? Now, what's happened since, this is only a couple of days, even on my street, several for sale signs have gone up.
Yeah.
Because this thing gets cooking in June 25th is when they're going to change the tax code. So anything you make over and above 250,000 when you sell a property, a business, something,
so capital
gains gets taxed 67%. So in the case of someone like you stand to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now that hundreds of thousands of dollars was hundreds of thousands in your pocket yesterday, which will be going to the government on the 25th.
Well, I think
I understand, and I've never been inundated with more people going, dude, we're going to get fucked too. You don't understand. So the more I looked, and I'm not apologizing, what I am saying is that because I am in no danger of paying capital gains tax for anything, because I don't own shit.
So you didn't look into it.
That was a self-interest thing to me. And we all approach this from self-interest. So eyes wide open. I don't want my friend Lachlan to get fucked. I don't want the average Canadian getting fucked. I don't want anybody who's had the ability to do this for themselves with rental income properties, et cetera, businesses. I feel terrible for them today. Terrible. But I don't know what else to say or do because of how fucked this country is.
I think the reason why you got inundated and I got inundated with stuff, I had a large number of people giving me financial advice last night on my Twitter and social feeds. So, which I thank you for that. But I think the reason why you got pounded yesterday is because you were a bit of a cock about it. You were like, you turn this into, and this is what happens. And I'm highlighting this not to be a dick to you or to make you look like a dick, but this is what happens is one side or the other will find a way to make an issue out of something in an effort to like secure a point about whatever side they're trying to prop up. And that's what I felt you kind of did yesterday with this, because I didn't know a lot about it, but just from a surface look at it yesterday and hearing a couple of things, I was like, I think this is going to screw me. And I don't think this is not just 0.13% of the population. No, I think a lot of people are going to be impacted. But again, I'm always careful with these comments because I'm not a very educated guy. And I didn't take a lot of time to look into it. But I read enough about it yesterday to go, I think the numbers are wrong here. Like, they're going to really screw a lot of people. And then you went on your horse about, we need to screw the wealthy and take them down. And that's why we had the reaction we had.
Totally. We need to fuck over the extremely wealthy, like the oligarchy, that shit. We need to get them to pay their fair share, but they're downloading that onto you.
Absolutely. That's absolutely what they're trying to say in the budget and what they're saying the budget is doing is not true. And it is going to it's not going to implicate the entire country. Everybody isn't going to be impacted by the capital gains, right? But there's going to be enough people that aren't just like, I could show you my bank statements. They're not that impressive. And we did some math yesterday with our accountant, my wife and my accountant did the math. I sat and looked over someone's shoulder. And this will impact us. This does have an implication on us and our retirement. So we have to make a decision right now whether or not we sell or whether or not we hang on to this in the hopes that this will get overturned or it won't get through, or somebody will wake up in the government and go, this could actually start a housing crisis, and that might not be that good, right?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. Let me get to that, right? What you're going to see, because you're seeing it now, I'm seeing it on my street, physically seeing it, and you can read the tea leaves. Spoke with a real estate guy today, buddy in my neighborhood who's like legendary real estate dude, and I'm like, what do you think? And he goes, we cannot keep up with requests today for listings.
It's gonna cause a crisis
across the country. Okay. And I'm going to leave the middle part of this country out because Calgary, Edmonton, Calgary, specifically oil country, they go through booms and busts every 6 to 7 years, right? Because
Yeah.
of the oil industry. So
Yeah.
house prices move up and down, but not extreme, right? Let me tell you a story. Toronto and Vancouver, they have speculated their way to fucking over every single person that lives in this area, right?
Yeah.
Houses haven't gone up 4%, 6%. They've gone up 200, 300%. So
not as bad
something
in
that
Edmonton and Calgary, but there is similar issues in some of the other markets across the country as well.
But
Vancouver and Toronto.
it's a joke.
Crazy.
Toronto was just announced as the world's most expensive city. More than New York, more than London, England. And it's comparable to Tokyo at the moment. That's how high these prices are. There's no rent control in Ontario. There's no rent control in British Columbia. There is speculation on top of speculation. New builds are down, and they're trying to lie to us and tell everybody that houses have to be $2 million for a teardown. In this area, they are $2 million. I live in a townhouse, just a modest townhome, 3-bedroom, 1,500 square feet. For sale sign next to me, $1.4 million. It's a townhome, $1.4 million. They listed these 2 years or 3 years ago when they built them, starting at $640. Most expensive one was $8.
Yeah,
1.4. So you're talking about double, right? And I am stuck. Like part of this is crazy because I look at you and I'm like, fuck. Or I look at my friend who's from a family that worked real hard and they've got 3 or 4 income properties. And I'm like, fuck. But then I look at my son or anybody else who's 24, 25, 26. And I'm like, this is good for them, but it's bad for you. And so correction, maybe overcorrection for sure.
I don't know what
but
the
oh
answer
my
is.
God, I don't like that's the part that we're all struggling with. And depending on what side you're on, you can't have this conversation with anybody.
No,
because you're a libtard or you're a commie or you're fascist. And to your point, I don't think it's cool. Like I was cheering against, like I'm cheering against the uber wealthy in this country, the top 0.1% to get fucked for sure. I am. Yeah. But I don't think we should be cheering for the loss of wealth for the average community.
or the lack of ability to actually make money. That's the issue that I have. And again, that is an underlying sentiment in this country as well. Not that I've ever had to worry about it, but there's a lot of people that are like, listen, the chips are stacked against you to make money in this country, whether you're investing or buying real estate or whether you're trying to start a business, big business, small business, medium business. The way that the tax codes and everything is structured in this country, they really cap you, right? And I think that's the bigger issue right now. And then when you start to rail against that, you get thrown into this category of, well, listen, you're against taxing the rich. So, and again, we're back to that basic conversation that we've been having for months about the division in the country, right? And that's why I was so careful about it yesterday, because I don't want to seem like
you're going to get fucked.
I don't want it to seem like I'm against the idea of going after the oligarchs and the people that are making a lot of money that are avoiding taxes, right? That spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars finding ways and loopholes to get around things that are still there, that this government and past governments have never closed, that have allowed them to actually continue to do this. It's that little guy, that middle guy that's just trying to eke out a living in this country that just keeps getting, and that's exactly what this budget is doing. And they're standing up on the stump and they're telling everybody that that's not what they did. And that's what they did. They did it again. So, and by masking this as we're trying to take care of the young people, right? And then, so it's the same conversation that, again, I can give you one more example and then let's move on. But I remember when I was mad about all the money they were spending about the bike lanes, and I literally had a woman tweet me and go, "So you want my kid to die?" And I'm like, holy shit. I am angry that they're spending millions of dollars building bike lanes in a city where it's winter 6 months of the year.
You can't ride a bike.
Yes, I do want all your kids to die.
However, you can scooter 12 months of the year if you get all terrains. You know that because that's what you do. So you do appreciate those bike lanes now.
Listen, I've started calling them scooter lanes whenever I get a chance. So that, again, we're back to that base conversation where it's when you try to poke, or stick your nose into a conversation and go, yeah, but hold on here. Like, I'm barely getting by. And this capital gains thing is really impacting me. They go, oh, so you want the rich to get richer? Oh,
I know. They do it all the time. And they did it with the tech. And you know who does that? I'll tell you who does that. The Liberal Party and the NDP Party.
Oh, the Liberal Party and their messaging is just awful.
So what I hope funny part is, and let me just kind of get through this. The funny part is that this is a government that says we're too divided, right?
And then
keep in mind, we're too divided. Need to bring everybody together. We're going to help all the poor people. Going to do that. So they'll hustle in this capital gains thing. And then they won't tell you that people like Lachlan or my buddy's Portuguese family who's worked their dicks off for the last 30 years is going to lose like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands. They worked for their whole lives. And then when you go, hey, that's not fair, right? The Liberal Party has their people go, you're just supporting the rich. Now,
it's exactly what's happening with this whole thing. And that's why it's so infuriating to me.
Yeah. But here's the thing. The Liberal Party did that. They do that with everything, right? They do it in a soft way to make you feel like, maybe am I being unreasonable?
Virtue signaling.
I don't want to have to give you a bunch of money because you just decided that that's where you're going to take it from to pay for all your election promises, right?
Yeah.
And so the business of dirty politics is what it is. And you see it all the time. And we see it today. Everybody gets caught up in it. But we never look at it from both sides. And were it not for you, my buddy Frank Gunn, who's an AP photographer, great guy, a couple of other economists, I got a chance to talk to over the past couple of days, which not the average Canadian does not have access to these people that have the ability to explain it to them. I wouldn't be having this conversation with you right now. I'd be like, fuck it, don't care. Doesn't affect me. Because that is generally how every single Canadian approaches everything political, everything monetary, is from a place.
It's not just Canadian, no. We're doing it in all democracies right now.
A place of self-interest. That's how we approach these things. So when Lachlan's yelling at me for making fun of people for being okay, not being okay with losing hundreds of thousands of dollars yesterday, he's approaching it from a place of self-interest for him because he's got money wrapped up in properties which he would like to sell at some point and not get dinged an extra couple $100,000, right? Yeah. That's self-interest. I look at it like, I don't own shit anymore. What do I care? So that helped curate my conversation. And I think if more people did what we do, right? Not that we're heroes, applied the ability to reason and got outside of your own self-interest and look at the entire thing, I think we'd be having better conversations about this.
Back to that, I think there are things that they could have done. Honestly, they should have shut off some of those loopholes for the uber rich, right? Which this Liberal government hasn't done. And this isn't a Liberal versus conservative thing. They had a chance to do it. It didn't get done. And that's I think is something that people need to think about as we go to the polls here in the next year and a half. But I do think that there's some of the, and there are provincially, there are things happening that are helping out the housing crisis. And just the Liberal government with this budget is not, I don't think they, outside of the grants and things like that to get new builds going, I'm not sure that it was an effective budget for the housing crisis. But the rent control conversation, I think, needs to be had. And there needs to be a conversation about making sure it's done properly, because there are some attempts, and look at provinces that have had success with rent control. Like Manitoba is one where if you cannot raise it a certain percentage, and you can't raise it while somebody's in there, right? Like there's elements of the rent control in Manitoba that should be implicated in other provinces. In BC, they're doing things because every area is specific. You mentioned it. You set it up at the beginning of this conversation, Dean. Like what's happening in Toronto is different than what's happening in Edmonton with real estate, right? Mm-hmm. So it is a provincial problem in some cases. And in some situations, it's also a city issue, right? Like Vancouver, Like there's an Airbnb problem in Vancouver and in parts of BC because anybody with any rental property is not going to rent it to somebody for $1,500 a month. They're going to put it up on Airbnb. And so there should be rules around those companies, and that's hurting the housing market as well. And again,
dude, that's the number one driver of housing inflation. Airbnbs and corporations. So here's what people don't know. In that budget, there was no penalty for people who owned and corporations who owned more than X amount of homes.
And that's what I was trying to say that yesterday. They should have, instead of making it a number on the capital gains,
they should have made it a number on properties.
The number
of
how much properties
you own in your portfolio and how much money you're making from those properties. There is a company out of the United States that owns more homes in Canada than any company, any person put together
in Canada.
And most of those are rentals, Airbnbs, Vancouver, Toronto. Thousands of properties. Thousands.
See,
those are the people that should be forced to sell X amount of properties and give X amount of that capital gains, not 67%, 70%, 75%. And then they should turn around and look at people like you and go, Loc, you've done a great job saving for your retirement. We're not going to touch your capital gains because you only own 2 properties. And Mr. Portuguese Johnny over there, the Italian gentleman, the people from Poland who worked their entire lives, another Canadian family and that have got 3-4 rental properties, you too. Good for you. You're Canadian. If you're a Canadian, and they didn't go after foreign ownership. That's the other thing.
Again, but
if you're a Canadian, if you're a Canadian citizen and you just own houses, they can tell the difference between that and corporations. Nothing said, hey, companies in China that own 500 rental properties, you're giving those back. Fuck you. Companies from the United States, like Lehman Brothers, other companies that have managed to figure out that if we own all the properties, we can change and set rates across different parts of this country, which is what they've done. If they said to those people, we're coming after you, like they do with international students who come here for fucking school, and we bend them over for an extra, I don't know, 1,000%, do the same fucking thing. Reward Canadians, burn the foreigners, and I don't care where they're from. Take their money, give it back to Canadians. That's what they should have done, and they did not. Because you know why? They're afraid of being called racist. That's the woke part.
I wonder if that's part of it. And the other thing, too, is now they're going to run around and defend this budget for the next couple of weeks. And then there's going to be a bunch of people fighting online because they have propped this up as we're going after the rich. And I don't think that's what it is. I think this might be a little bit of a pig with lipstick. They're going after the
rich, and then under the table, they're kicking each other going, and everybody else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what
this government is in so much. And I tried to lay this out yesterday.
I got news for you. You want some news? Big news.
Okay.
About this government. Justin Trudeau will not be running again in the next election against Pierre Poilievre.
Really?
That was just, can you call it announced? I don't think you can. This morning I recorded Kinsella and Adler, right? Adler and Kinsella they got a pipeline into every war room of every party. So this morning, Warren Kinsella dumps on everybody. Trudeau's not running. Mark my words, he ain't running again. And he knows why. He's going to get massacred. Doesn't want that on his resume in the next election, right?
Yeah, he's in trouble.
Super underwater. And 2 of his best friends are organizing leadership consultations right now. A gentleman named Domenc Leblanc, who's an MP, who's loved by people on both sides of the aisle, and a gentleman who was the governor for the Bank of England and the governor for the Bank of Canada. You'll hear this name a lot. His name is Mark Carney. One of those 2 gentlemen is allegedly, according to Warren Kinsella, in his latest breaking news, heard on the Charles Adler podcast, go and download it anywhere you get your fine podcasts, that Justin Trudeau indeed will not be running in the next federal election. So there you go.
Yeah, I had a conversation yesterday about that, and that actually came up. It's funny that it because it was a conversation about how does that guy think it was a. I think that this budget was a litmus test, and I think with how poorly it got laid out, and the fact that they have not, they've refused to change their tactics. Like I said to you yesterday, I said, let's, like, in a magic world, let's make Dean in charge of all decisions for the Liberal Party. Everything has to go through Dean. Would you have done what they did? And you said no. Anybody that's at all remotely connected to what's happening in Canada would not have done what the Liberal Party did. And now all that spending.
Do you know what I do?
It's just so stupid.
Yeah, it's dumb. You know what I do? If I'm the Prime Minister, Dean for PM, by the way. Even though I wasn't born in Canada, Dean for PM. I would have gone after Chinese money, Russian money. I would have gone after all the autocratic money that's pouring into this country. I would invent RICO laws for organized crime because that is a problem in this country. And I would take all that money, all of it. I would take it, roll it up into a big fist of bills, and I'd hand that several billion to $1 trillion to the government. And I'd say, there you go. There you go. Give it to the poor. We're not allowing this anymore. Foreign ownership. We're not allowing it anymore.
Yeah.
That's enough. That's enough. We're going to give all that money that these companies have been flooding and these countries have been flooding into this country to buy our land, to buy our homes. You can call me xenophobic all you like. I don't give a fuck. And I would give every Canadian first right. Doesn't matter where you're from in Canada. You have the first right to purchase or sell anything you want. And you also don't get dinged. And you download all of those overages and all of those taxes on every single company that comes from another country that wants to taste our milk and honey, that wants to fucking put Canadians on the street because you're coming over here with boatloads of money, that ill-gotten gains and companies and government money that gets flooded into this country.
I think it happens more than people realize.
Dude, it is a
tax haven for a lot of
huge.
Yeah, but
I didn't see any of that in this budget.
You have to be creative with how you try to hide your taxes here, right? Like, and again, the real estate market has been one of those, and that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of why we're at where we're at. Hey, can I ask you a question?
I was 16. I was 16.
In a desperate attempt to try to move on to another topic.
Sure.
And this is a test. Okay. And I actually want people to comment because I don't want to get into it today. I want to, if you know what this is, I want you to send me a message. You can do it publicly or DMs. My DMs are open. Probably the best way to do it is on Twitter at Loc and Cross. Do you know what IBLP is?
IBLP?
You might not, and it's okay.
Institute in Basic Life Principles? Is it a cult?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm familiar with it now. Institute in Basic Life Principles, described as a cult.
Is there a Canadian angle to this?
Non-denominational Christian fundamentalists. It serves as an umbrella organization for several ministries established in American Christian minister Bill Goddard, 1961. The stated purpose of the organization is to provide instruction on how to find success in life by following biblical principles. This involves programs that include seminars for ministry, community outreach, troubled youth, mentoring, and international ministry. IBLP has been described as a cult.
And more specifically, it's a underground attempt to try to take over governments.
Yeah.
That's the underlying thing. And the only reason I brought it up is because my wife has been watching the Duggar. You know, the 19 kids in Canada.
Dude, yeah. History. The IBLP was originally organized in 61 under the name Campus Teams. This is MLM. This is just recruiting cult members and scaring the shit out of kids. That's all it is. IBLP was headquartered in Chicago after headquarters facility, East Texas, Big Sandy. Started promoting basic youth conflicts. 20,000 people in the 70s. In 79, they bought a Learjet In 2008, the rise of celebrity status of one group of the IBLP followers, the Duggar family, through the
Duggars.
TLC.
Is it Duggars or Duggars?
Duggar. Yeah. 17 kids and counting brought a new wave of interest in the organization and its teachings. Yeah.
So basically what it was, and the reason why I thought it was interesting and the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because I've never heard of this. And it was my wife who brought it up because she's watching the documentary on that family.
Yeah.
Because she used to watch that show.
Mm-hmm.
My wife, who is probably one of the smartest people I know, watches the worst TV. I don't know what that is. Some of the smartest people I know watch the dumbest TV.
My significant other is incredibly smart. She cannot go to sleep unless she watches a half an hour of what she calls trash TV.
Trash TV. My wife has a similar, like, I walked into the bedroom last night. She's watching Survivor. I don't know anybody who watches Survivor. My wife,
dude, you know how many episodes
Survivor.
of Vanderpump Rules I've had to watch over the past couple weeks? I'm like, fucking really? You watch this?
So this morning, my wife and I are getting ready to go. We're spending a lot of time together, by the way.
Yeah.
Our marriage is it's getting healthier by the day.
Solid.
Yeah. Anyway, she says to me, she goes, "Do you know what IBLP is?" And I'm like, "Absolutely never heard of it." She goes, "You need to watch the Duggar documentary."
Man, dude, I'm looking at this on the wiki page.
Sounds fascinating. I want to get into this.
Ridiculous. In addition to adherence to the Bible and their ideas of Christian ideals, the IBLP considers men. Hang on, considers men in particular the patriarch of the family, so it already subjugates women to be superior, whereas women are expected to obey men in every way. That is not going to work in your relationship or mine. I'm just letting you know. This includes the home, school, workplace, and marriage. Women are raised to learn how to become good wives and mothers and birth and raise children. For IBLP men, chosen by women's fathers to be their husbands. Couples are matched after complex courtship overseen by both sets of parents. Women are not allowed to date or flirt. All attempts at flirting, as well as wearing makeup, perfume, nail polish, high heels, are seen as lustful. Fuck, Jordan Peterson believes in this shit.
Brianna, I think.
Yeah.
I think she might have been tied into an organization here locally. Yeah. We had her on a couple of weeks ago. Brianna Brown. She was in a cult for 26 years before she escaped. The other thing was...
Hang on, I'm not done.
Okay,
women are also discouraged from attaining higher education. Some of Goddard's personal secretaries were allowed to wear red nail polish and heels, probably because he was banging them. Consumption of all media, such as television, movies, most music, and the internet is not allowed. Brianna Brown, same thing.
Yeah.
Through non-contemporary Christian music is accepted. All music which features syncopation is banned. Dancing is not allowed. Consumption of alcohol is also banned. What the fuck? Women are supposed to wear ankle-length dresses and never cut their hair. Their presence of text printed out onto dresses is not allowed. They can't have words on their dresses. It's thought to bring attention to the body. Men are expected to wear dark suits, white shirts. Blue jeans are seen as ungodly. Men are also expected to be circumcised, as being uncircumcised is unpure. Oh, this gets better. Children are homeschooled. Do not leave the house at all. Certain toys such as Cabbage Patch dolls are forbidden. Sexual education is not part of IBLP teachings. Teachings on marriage. Husband's the head of the household, complete authority over his wife and children. It's God-given. And he has to correct her, quote, deficiencies. Ooh. Yeah. So this is a cult. That's all it is. It's a Christian cult, IBLP. Yeah. That's all it is.
Anyway, the other thing was too is there's this overwhelming desire to try to understand why Trump is so successful in the States. Yeah. And if you take a deeper dive into this, apparently I don't know much about it. This is just based on a very sort of initial conversation I had with my wife and this Duggar documentary, the Duggar family, is that it does sort of give a better sense, because we've had conversations, my wife and I, occasionally, where just like, can you believe, like, this is just complete madness, like the Trump thing is just madness. But there is a belief that Trump is doing the things that extreme right, that evangelical organization, Christian sort of following in the States and in democratic countries, that Trump and Trump-like leaders are doing things legally, like behind the scenes, to make it more
palatable.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. Just a quick question for you. Okay, you and I have been doing this podcast for 3 years. During the pandemic, I've been warning about Christian extremism, Abrahamic extremism. This is an Abrahamic extremist cult, by the way, in case you're wondering, Christian cult, evangelical cult. Talking about how political leaders in the United States and Canada have embraced those groups, as you pointed out, which I've been saying now for 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years. Been hard on this for 3 years. I'm only now seeing the average person in Canada and the United States go, this Christian nationalism thing is a bad deal.
Yeah.
And it's wrapped up in our politics. You're like, I've been fucking trying to tell you people that for I don't know how long. And let me point something out. All of them are sexual degenerates. All of them. Because they don't get taught about.
Again,
let me bring this up. No, you can say take
blanket statements we got to be just a little bit careful with.
Okay, the Duggar family. You ever heard of Josh Duggar?
Duggar was the older brother that got sent away.
An American convicted sex offender, former reality television show guy, the eldest of Michelle and Bob Duggar's.
He's actually the reason why that show, I think, was pulled off the air.
Duggar and his family gained fame on TLC 19 Kids and Counting spinoff. Duggar served as the executive director of that organization, Family Research Council. He resigned the position after he was reported to have molested multiple underage girls, including his 4 sisters, in the ages of 12 and 16.
Awful
that
story.
Entire fucking family is degenerate. And let me also tell you something else. These people, these super evangelicals, the IBLPs.
Some of those kids came out of there okay, I think.
Some, not many. The inordinate amount of pastors that submit to this ideology that are being arrested for grooming, pedophilia, sexual assault of young people is unbelievable. So when you see them screaming about parental rights, the reason why that exists is because they don't want people knowing their dirty business.
There might be a through line there.
It is. I've only been saying it for 3 fucking years.
Yeah.
Really glad you're watching it and you're coming around.
I'm not watching it. My wife watched it, but she said that because she knows how much I hate those shows.
Yeah.
I actually get there's a couple of shows that I get angry about. One, my daughters watch the Kardashians and it drove me crazy. And they used to actually, if I walked into a room and the show was on, they'd turn it off because they didn't want to have the conversation with me. Because I'd be like, don't tell me you're not watching that stupid show.
Yeah.
So there was that. The other one was that guy in Vegas with the 6 wives.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Sister wives. Cody.
I hated
He's down
that.
to like 3 wives now. He's down to 3 wives.
They keep falling off. I hated that
Mormon.
show.
That's different. That's Mormon. And let me kind of take you through that. See, this is how stupid that guy is. I was single for a long time. I have a significant other. Conversations that we've had. We're not married, none of that stuff. Would you be interested in other relationships, because we don't live in the same city. It's a long story. I don't want to get into it. And I'm like, no, I don't want more of this.
You're already a lot of work.
Yeah. No, she's
you
not.
You told her
That's
that?
The best part. It's like I hit a home run.
Your dinner.
This is good. This is good. This is good. I'm happy. It's good. I don't want to take any chances by bringing
Was
a wild
this
card into
conversation
this.
revolving around the old fashioned too?
No. Different.
Is that why you went home and there was no?
But you understand what I mean. Where you're like, you like Deb, you love Deb.
Dean killed the evening.
You guys have
your
capacity for information before each other. You get home, you talk to each other about each other's days. That guy, Cody, had to do that 6 or 7 times a night. Okay,
that show.
Day? Okay, how was your day? Okay, how was your day?
Crazy.
Okay, how was your day? He fucking had to catch up with 7 women every single night to hear about it. And then he had to give that information back 7 times a night. And I'm like, I don't want to do that twice in a day, 3 times in a day. I don't want to balance all that. I barely have enough capacity to live my life. Never mind be in a relationship with another human being. You think I want to do that with like more people? The answer is no. But when I was married, I definitely meant it the way you think I meant it, which is, you think I want more crazy? You're nuts. You're absolutely nuts.
I have been very, very honest with my wife about the possibility of, like, we've got something we've built to it. Like, we've been together a long time, and we're at a very comfortable part in our lives, but it takes work. And all kidding aside, we can have fun with this conversation. And Dean's having fun with this conversation, and he's got a new relationship. I can't wrap my head around the idea. I'll go back to a conversation we had on the locker room a couple years ago with this woman.
Balance it all. Like, do you want to work a full day? I have to go to work. I can't just, my work job can't be in a bunch of relationships. I have no interest in any of that.
Dude, unbelievable. Anyway, so we had this conversation about polyamory, and at the time I had no idea what it was. And we had this woman call up, and she was in a polyamorous relationship. I'm trying to remember her name. She was very, very like nice girl. And she was also kind of funny, and it was a good conversation. And we kept her around actually for like, when I found out, like my initial conversation on the phone with her, I'm like, you need to come down. We're doing this on Friday's show. And she's like, absolutely. She came down, and we had her on the show for an hour. And the one thing at the end of it, I remember saying to her is just listening to her have this conversation about what it takes to have multiple relationships and this, and we do this, and we got a couple friend in Calgary and blah, 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 blah. And I just looked at her and I said, and I didn't mean this as any disrespect to the relationship that I have and what I've built with my wife, but I looked at this woman and I just said, oh my God, it sounds exhausting.
That's what I'm saying.
And she said, it's a lot of work. And that's the problem I have with it, right? Like, I want what I have with my wife. I don't want to try to replicate that. And never did. Never thought that, hey, listen, what kind of personality type do you need to be if you're a man that thinks that he can have multiple relations, or even a woman? Like, I don't understand the women that have, even from like 20, early 30s, whatever, when you're playing the field and having fun. I can't even wrap my head around the idea of having 4 or 5 on the go. And like, I've met young women that are like, oh yeah, I got, John over here. I got Bill, he works at the gym, and I got, Eric's up in Fort Mac, and he comes through on the weekends. And like, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing, woman? You are insane.
She's very active. I hope she's wearing condoms.
Well, yes. But men do it. There are men out there that think,
I applaud women that do it. I think men do it, and they do it on the sly. Generally speaking, women are like right up front, like front.
I think generally women are a little bit more. Yes, not always, but I think
guys that are in multiple relationships, they don't talk about the other ones. Women are like, I'm kind of.
Or what about the guys that end up in a relationship, like their kids find out that they have brothers and sisters in another town? Never trust a traveling salesman. Never. Because he for sure has a family in Red Deer.
My buddy told me, long story, dad passes away. Dad moved back to Jamaica, lived in Canada for a long time, moved back to Jamaica. Always vacationed in Jamaica, right? Moved back to Jamaica to spend the last 20 years of his life. Goes back for the funeral a couple years ago. Goes there with his 6 brothers and sisters. Meets his other 12 brothers and sisters that he's never met. I'm like, what do you do? He goes, fuck, the inheritance is really tough to split.
Apparently Bob Marley was a bit of a
gosh.
Yeah, like when he was on tour, had like different, he had buses traveling behind him.
Yeah, with his wives and kids. Yeah. He was awesome. I love that. But again, that's not for me. I'm like, oh, wait a second. Like the other night, I was like, can we just sleep? Like, that's the way I am. Anyway, good to see you.
I need a night off.
Free to be here.
replay?
Don't forget, everything we do is, absolutely. Everything we do before we get to the Ardent Roof Systems Retro Replay of the Day, brought to you by Crier Media. Go to crier.co for more information. Check out our partners like Ardent Roof Systems, who bring us today's Retro Replay of the Day. We'll get to the golf tournament stuff in a minute. What do you have for us this afternoon, sir?
This is a very dangerous segment I used to do on the locker room called Dr. Loc, where I used to give out on the regular advice about your health.
The Loc Retro Replay.
Here's my belief structure revolving around what we're going through.
Let's
right
also
now.
just point out, which medical school did you go to?
I did not go to.
Which university?
I think it's partly because of overpopulation, and I think Mother Nature is just finding a way to call the herd.
So you're saying that we need to kill people?
No.
So what I'm getting from this Dr. Loc segment is we need to let people die.
No. You guys are going to get me in trouble.
What, Dr. Loc Kevorkian?
Very dangerous segment. I still get
what I
people
loved about that
sending
segment?
me like stuff like Loc.
Yeah, saying your advice didn't work. I rubbed Tabasco on my knee and it still hurts.
Oh, sesame seed oil behind the knees. Never need
I
to be
remember
vaccinated.
I remember that one. Yeah. And during the pandemic too, giving people medical advice.
That's when I started doing it, because I'm like, you know what would be really funny if well, actually, when I started doing it is when Grant found out that I had when I ordered a scene card. I brought in mail one time. I used to click the doctor box.
And they put it on your mail.
So on my scene card, it says Dr. Loc.
So might as well pretend to be one online during the most hotly anticipated medical era of our generation.
See where the humor comes from?
I do. Your employer didn't, which is probably why you're here. Great to have you at Lachlan Cross.
By the way, sign up for that Ardent Roof Systems golf tournament by going to ardentroofsystems.com. Early bird pricing for a single, for a double, for a triple, for a foursome is in effect right now until the end of April. Don't miss out on it. The cost of the tournament will go up in May. If you would like to sponsor the Ardent Roof Systems charity golf tournament, maybe a hole or a silent auction item, just reach out to me. My email is out there. I get emails all the time from people. You can reach me on any social media platform. My DMs are open, and that's all I got. Again, ardentroofsystems.com is the webpage. This is a good one today. This is a good conversation.
Buddy. Yeah, it was fun. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend. See you Monday. Lachlan Cross, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for us. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back on Monday. As always, we're brought to you by our friends at Cantork. Go to cantork.com for more information on rugged, hard-working torque wrenches. They are Canada's leading industrial tool experts, the very best in sales, service, rentals, calibration, maintenance, custom fabrication, and industrial torque tools. Unparalleled expertise for 20 years when it comes to their top-of-the-line torque and tension tools, flange management, maintenance systems, impact sockets you can rely on. Highest quality products designed to withstand the most demanding conditions, ensuring optimal performance and peace of mind. They've been at it for 20 years, manufactured, designed in Canada, from tool rentals, calibration services, and repairs to custom fabrication and distribution opportunities. Cantork gives you a complete range of services and products. They are your one-stop destination for every single bolting need in any situation, in every industry. Heavy industry machinery. They do it for people around the world. They do the oil and gas industry. They do tunnel boring industries. They do nuclear industry, forestry industry, heavy machinery, and they're proudly Canadian. Go to cantork.com. It's a brand new website, cantork.com. Products, services, news, about, podcast. Become a distributor. It's all on the front page of their website, cantork.com. Check them out today. And we're brought to you by Muse Massage Spa. Our ladies are experiencing technical difficulties with their Twitter feed. However, you can hook up with them today at musemassagespa.com. You can go and visit them, 1290 Finch Avenue West, Unit 13, Toronto, Ontario. Emily and Riley are wonderful. They're going to be on the show with us this next week to talk about not only their tech issues, but the business of polyamory, etc. So we're going to have them on, but there are no better educators or advocates for the sex work industry. So make sure you get their podcast today. Crier Media has it. It's called Muse on the Mic. You can also get it on their Patreon feed, Muse on the Mic for the Patreon, Muse on the Mic for YouTube. Download, subscribe, read, listen, and make an appointment. Go get some therapeutic treatments. Their schedule is available. You can choose your Muse. You can see the spa. Check out their location. They're even giving people jobs. They're entrepreneurs, and they're lovely women. Go to musemassagespa.com today for more details. And as always, brought to you by our friends at factcheck.io. Fact Check is the disinformation killing software for the year 2024. Listen, it is all going to end at some point, and the people at Fact Check have wrapped their arms around how to figure out how to tell you what you're reading is verified or not. Pictures, videos, spoken word, text, URLs. It's disinformation killing software. It's in beta test right now, and you can join their beta team. Go to factcheck.io for more information. Join their beta team there and become a Fact Check verified fact checker. FAKTCHEK.io. Again, FAKTCHEK.io. Factcheck.io. Do you believe? I know I do when I use their beta, which is also an extension for Chrome that you can attach to your Twitter feed, and it shows up with colors to go, don't read this. It's fascinating. Have a great day, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you Monday. Bye.